It's Thursday, September 4th, 2014. I'm Rim.
I'm Judith.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, Judith is on the spot. This is the part where I usually talk way too long and Scott gets really mad. Let's do this. So, Scott, apparently, and I shit you not, forgot to come over to the studio to do the show. We were talking about it right before I was at work. I was like, hey, we're going to do a show. And he was like, oh, yeah, we'll do the show on this. And I was like, we're going to get Judith on and put her on the spot, and it's going to be hilarious. And he was like, yeah, that'll be pretty good. And if she doesn't show up, we'll just talk about Gamergate because that's pretty stupid. And I'm like, yeah. And then Scott didn't come home. And after like an hour and a half, I wondered if he was dead, bike accident or whatever. So I messaged him. And the response I get was basically, I'm going to read his exact response. Also, Judith, you can say something at any time.
You were planning to put me on the spot the whole time?
I was waiting for you to say something. And yes, I was planning. I decided to call this Judith on the spot the second you asked if you could come over and watch us do Geek Nights.
Class.
I am nothing but class. All right. Let's see. So, are you dead or just not coming over? Emoticon of a bee is what I sent to Scott. He paused. There's like 5 minutes of no response, followed by, oh, I just forgot there was a show and went home.
Does he usually reply to you within a few seconds? Is it weird to have a 5-minute pause?
It's weird to have a pause. That's why I wondered if he was dead.
Oh, that's so cute.
So I said LOL a whole bunch of times, and he's like, so, yeah, I guess forgetting once in this many years is actually pretty good. So, yeah, Scott's not dead. He's just bad at remembering things. So I guess he's just going senile early.
It's going on his permanent record.
So instead, what I'm doing here is I'm putting Judith on the spot because we've changed the production process of Geek Nights a lot over the years. The last time we did a show on this, we talked about how we had this like fucking compressor in line. We had all this analog mixer stuff, and we really don't do any of that anymore. And none of you guys seem to know how we do the show. And Judith wants to do a podcast. Now the whole internet knows she wants to do a podcast. If she doesn't do a podcast, people are going to be like, hey, where's my podcast?
Except the whole internet doesn't know who I am. So
I think some people know who you are. Do you want them to know who you are? Or are you just going to be Judith?
I'll just be Judith.
Do you want me to link to anything in the show notes?
I don't.
Okay,
you can give him my Twitter because I don't have much else at the moment.
Oh, Twitter.
What?
So in the old days, show notes were called schnotes by horrifying people who luckily no longer podcast. So bear that in mind.
That's a terrible word.
It is a terrible word. You know what? A lot of people we used to podcast with hated us because we thought podcasting was stupid.
Then why did you do it?
Because it's really stupid.
All right. Okay.
We're into this, but a lot of people tried to make money off of podcasting. And there was like this whole cottage industry. There was a point where a radio producer invited us, and Emily came with us, to come to the radio station in New York. And then Scott and I explained to this celebrity and all these people like what podcasting is and how to do it. And we started to build a professional relationship. And then podcasting died, and that person left New York, and radio died, and podcasting died again. In fact, there used to be awards, and we won one of them. We were the best anime podcast.
Who gave you that?
This is the Parsec Awards. These are awards for, like, exemplary short fiction.
That looks like something from a garage sale.
In fact, this is why a lot of people hated us, because we won this, the first one ever, and we didn't even fucking go to the awards ceremony. And everyone else who was nominated did. So they announced us. We weren't there. A friend of ours went up to the stage, was like, yeah, I'll just take that for them. I know them. And then we didn't even like announce that we won it once we found out.
That is ultra typical for you. Wow.
Yeah, it is. And then we got nominated again the next year, and we didn't even fill out the form we had to fill out. So lesson 1, learn how to do patter and how to constantly talk and generate content, because dead air sucks, but the only thing that sucks more than dead air is editing.
I did that on purpose just now.
And point number 2, because if you're going to do this podcast with another person, the way Scott and I have been able to do this in panels so easily is honestly that we never have ever looked at each other while we were doing the show. We face away from each other so that when we're in a panel, we don't have to look at each other. We can take completely psychic cues.
You guys just do that anyway, though, even when you're just talking.
Yeah, but it was fostered over a long time, and we kind of refined it by doing the show this way.
Oh, okay. I always assumed that's just how you met, looking away from each other. What could be wrong with this guy? Let's room together.
Actually, the story was we wanted to get a 4-person apartment. The last one ended. We thought we were going to live in Riverhole with all the rats. And as we're walking dejectedly over there to sign up for the non-internet apartment, they announced that there were 2 one-bedroom, 2-person apartments available in Colony. And we said yes, and we start to run over, and Greg holds up his hand and says, wait. And he turns around, and he looks at all of us, and he says, and I quote, who is going to live with Scott? And there was a long pause, and I said, I will.
Of course you did.
Of course I did.
Masochist.
And then
No,
Magic.
Scott's great.
Scott is a great guy. I remember how you guys met.
We were at a wedding.
Was it the wedding or was it that Otakon or was it both?
It was the wedding.
It was the wedding?
I might have been at the same Otakon as you, but I didn't take any note of you.
No.
That's how I am with strangers.
I must have been quiet. Maybe I hurt my throat or something.
I can't even imagine.
So, it's Thursday. It's the lounge, and you're not. Scott usually gets mad when I call it the lounge, but
I can see why.
what we do. Oh, you don't like the lounge?
That's kind of corny as hell.
Well, the original concept was that instead of doing our normal format on Thursday, we'd have a different format and just talk for like an hour with no like boundaries or format or anything. And we said we'd do it, and then we never actually did it.
Okay, then. You couldn't come up with like a free-for-all Thursday? No, that doesn't work.
We should have called it 3 for All Thursday and still only had 2 people. So
have your third be Moogie or Theo. Oh, wait, they weren't born yet.
no, they were not even
Okay.
born. The thing you have to think about too when doing a podcast is content is king. So in addition to being able to like do the pattern, to just talk and to not have to edit and to already know what you're going to say and talk about, you have to decide day one if you're going to have a format or not. And I suggest having a format. So what are you doing your podcast on?
Just being thrown in here and not knowing what I'm saying, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So is that what going to be what your main show is?
Is this you trying to teach me some kind of lesson?
No, I'm just curious. Like, what's your show going to be about?
I'm not entirely sure yet.
Just like we're going to do a podcast?
Maybe some of the things that we've covered in panels, because we've done a variety of panels at different cons so far.
So you're not going to make a topical one. It's not going to be like Adventure Time, and every episode is about Adventure Time.
I might do that, but only not so specific.
I think the format you guys want to use is the Fast Karate for the Gentleman format.
Go on.
Their format is as such. They start talking about how they're setting up the podcast. Like, all right, dude, I got the Skype going. You ready? And then they talk about something for like 10 minutes. And then they talk about their topic, which is either an anime they watched, a video game they played, or 24.
We're probably going to wind up doing shit like that, minus the 24.
So maybe Adventure Time is your 24.
It could be.
So you do your normal thing once a week, and then whenever there's a new Adventure Time, you just talk about that instead.
Until Adventure Time ends.
I wonder if it will end.
Of course it'll end.
I wonder, well, all things end. I wonder imagine if they just keep letting Finn age, and then 20 years from now, he's just an adult, and the show just keeps going, and it's radically different.
I'd be okay with that. Even that would be better than what happened to SpongeBob.
SpongeBob started bad.
No, it was good for kids, I think, back
Was it
in the
really?
day.
Was it really? Did that not foster a generation of kids who run around going, ah?
It was plain and simple slapstick, and now it's just stupid.
I much prefer the vaguely horrifying slapstick of like a Ren and Stimpy or Rocko's Modern Life.
Yes, those were far superior shows. There's still one episode of SpongeBob, an old one called Band Geeks, that makes me laugh every time I watch it. I still recommend that one. But that could just be me.
Could be. I've never seen it, but I do like some dumb things, so I can't really cast aspersions here.
I'm getting a look of approval from someone else in the room.
Oh, yeah, we have a studio audience, too. So the other important thing is, are you going to do this on a schedule or not?
I would prefer a schedule vastly because neither of us works well without one.
So how rapidly do you want the show to go from horrible to listenable to good? Because it's going to be horrible.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
I mean, Scott and I recorded Geeknights for a couple months before we even put that shit on the internet. Let me tell you, I listened to some of those episodes as prep for this. I pray to the gods that no one ever actually finds those, though they are still on the internet.
There's a reason I never went into your old archives and bothered I assumed.
The thing is, our old archives start months after we actually started.
Oh, I thought I would just feel all this secondhand proxy embarrassment for you two, and I wouldn't be able to bear it.
No, the old episodes were not great, but they were at least listenable. The beta episodes were listened to by maybe 5 or 6 people, and most of the feedback was, really? This is what you're doing? This is what happens when you leave college?
That's kind of what I've been anticipating, only when you leave college is replaced with when you turn 30.
You know, I was hanging out at PAX with a bunch of cool people, but we hung out with someone who was cool, but in their early 20s. And people who are in their early 20s look the same as us mostly, but they exhibit an exuberance that I think is gone from my brittle old man bones.
I know that feeling a little too well.
Yeah, we're old. Listen, kids, tone down the exuberance.
Stop it. You're making us feel bad.
You make us feel bad, 1, because I go to bed while you're still exuberating, and 2, you fucking hit me in the face with your elbow when you're exuberating.
Also, I enjoy going to bed while you're still exuberating, and that makes me feel bad.
Poor Scott at PAX. It was like 10:45, and we were playing Pendante, and he just lays down on the table. He's like, I think I need to go to bed. I think I'm fading.
10:45, Jesus.
That was pretty much the reaction I was going for there.
Okay, good.
So the way we got at least reasonably competent at this, as the listener will agree, is that we set a schedule that was way, way more than we could possibly reasonably expect to achieve. And we forced ourselves to do it no matter fucking what.
Yeah, I've heard that.
4 nights a week, every week for 4.5 years.
That's pretty crazy.
And you know what? We did the show no matter what. There were nights where I didn't sleep. I stayed up all night editing, and then we went to work the next day.
And that is how you not suck?
That is how you not suck. Pick your schedule. Never, ever skip an episode for anything.
Not even PAX?
Well, if you're at a convention, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay. Thing is, conventions didn't get in our way too much because conventions we'd always leave on Thursday, so we'd just time it.
Yeah,
We used to record ahead. When we were gone for Otakon for the week, we would record 4 fucking extra episodes.
The illusion is broken.
We would record so far ahead, it was ridiculous.
So much for that actually recorded at night thing.
Well, we would record at night, just at night ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
That's what we'd do.
Last time I was here, it was daylight. Just want to say that.
It was daylight, but it was still like 7-something o'clock.
That's
right?
not night. That's
night.
Evening. It was a geek evening.
Yeah, you know what? We're old now. Night is when you feel night. So, do you have any news to bring to the table, or are we doing the lounge? The lounge, we can talk about whatever, but if we do the normal Geeknights format, we each have to bring one item of interest to the table for discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some gay news.
Gay news?
Sad gay news, but gay news.
Oh, there was some good gay news today. I think 2 or 3 more states, gay marriage got unoverturned.
Well, I always prefer the bad news first, because then I leave feeling happier when I've gotten the good news last.
Court rules against gay marriage bans in 2 states.
Yay! Louisiana sucks, though. Louisiana.
Oh, quote, the U.S. Appeals Court issued a scathing, unequivocal ruling.
Yes.
All right, so what did Louisiana do to ruin all this?
They upheld their marriage ban in their federal court with this curmudgeony old judge who basically recycled every horrible thing that's ever been said about the gay, quote-unquote, lifestyle and summed everything up by quoting the dissension from the Supreme Court's decision.
That's like copying off of the dumb kid in class.
Yeah, saying that was the precedent. Not the actual case, but the dissension. And he finished everything saying every other judge before me was wrong. I am right. Gay people are like polygamists or whatever the other thing I don't like is.
So maybe there's a couple ways to go. Maybe somehow he is actually on the right side and he is trying to force the Supreme Court into the final corner. There's a tiny possibility of that.
I sometimes worry about that because the Supreme Court is ultra fucked up right now.
Maybe he wants to go down in history as the last judge to stand against this.
Maybe he's old and shitty and from Louisiana.
But I repeat myself. Ooh, I didn't get the dirty look I was expecting.
Sorry, I wasn't looking at you.
Not you.
Oh.
Oh, no, I'm getting approval for the statement. I stand by it then. So, yeah, I got some news. Apparently, nerds in their basements tried to stage a Gamergate protest at PAX because, as far as I can tell, and it took me a while to figure out what Gamergate was.
Did they try to stage it from their basements?
I think they did because there wasn't actually a protest. I saw all these tweets, and then this one guy posted this like, there's going to be a false flag. Zoe Quinn is going to be at PAX, and then she's going to stage an assault in a hallway, and then they're going to set it up to where she's going to come out on stage at the closing ceremonies, and Gabe and Tycho are going to agree with her and unify and say that gamer is now a bad word, and they're going to drop the names of prominent YouTubers who were collaborating and blah, 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 blah. And I think what's beautiful is that even Reddit was like, yeah, that's a bit much, and that shit got deleted. It's like when even Reddit backs off from you, I think you got trouble.
Oh, Reddit is just swimming in swill, though. They don't get a pass for that.
Yeah, the thing is, Reddit, what does someone say? Reddit is like 4chan, but it doesn't realize it's the bad guy.
Of course not.
But at the same time, I'm 100% advocate of free speech, even really shitty speech. So I kind of am glad that Reddit exists, as horrifying as it is.
I am not in favor of some of the threats that they've supported.
Well, supported or, well, like who? Which they? The people in subreddits or Reddit itself as an organization?
Well, I'm sure that some people who frequent Reddit have partaken in making those threats, while people on subreddits.
But people who have used the 7 train have then threatened people.
That's not what I'm trying to say. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't support the threats.
Well, welcome to the Lion's Den, Judith, on the spot. Pew, 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 pew.
I'm going to throw this iPhone at you. I know it's your iPhone. That's why it's okay.
Remember, they can't hear our studio audience.
I know they can't.
So do you know how to use a microphone?
I'm talking into it.
Yep. Do you know why you have to point it directly at your face?
Because it doesn't pick up all this other shit, because why would anyone want to hear that?
Yeah, most of the microphones you use don't have that power.
Yeah, I know that this is like a good microphone, right?
It is a really good well, there are good microphones that also don't have that power.
Wouldn't everybody want that power?
No, because that power causes other problems too. For example, it allows me to have the smooth radio voice. It adds a ton of bass to my voice, which can be good or bad on the circumstances. It causes some other distortion, and if I move my head around at all, I'll suddenly get really quiet.
There's bass in your voice ever?
Ooh. If I do this, there is.
No, there isn't.
Listeners out there can hear. The thing is, when you have a microphone like this, it will actually, there's something called the proximity effect. So the closer you get, the deeper it gets. That's why Howard Stern sounds so much more amazing and manly on the radio than he ever has in real life.
I just listened to your DashCon episode. No.
Yeah, because I'm not doing it all the way. I stay back to have a more naturalistic tone. But if I eat this microphone, you'll see.
You have to do a whole show like that sometime.
You know, I've tried. The problem is that if I get loud when I'm this close, I'll blow it out. I'll be too loud.
Then don't get loud. Make Scott be the loud one.
So the problem is we yell. You don't. Look at these waveforms. You've got like
I know, I've been
Judith,
watching them.
Tiny little Judith,
Look,
and I'm just
one.
fucking yelling into the microphone. In fact, I've got compressors like holding my voice back from its full fucking loudness here.
I'm sorry, it's my diminutive feminine tones.
And the compressor that is applied here, because this is Scott's voice profile, is just the patriarchy holding you back.
So that's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like. It's the dynamic processor right there. I wonder if I can show you what it's doing. So you kids at home won't be able to learn this, but here's what's going on. There is a path in our voices. In the old days when we did Geeknights, it was actually way harder because we didn't have good multi-track editing software. So we'd record like a stereo waveform, and then I would manually like run all these filters and run a script. But you, with the power of Audition, need to learn how all this stuff works and basically make a filter that will work kind of live. So you don't have to ever like after the show, like listen to it and go, oh, maybe I should make that part louder, that part quieter. You have a thing that just does it all automatically. So you can do the same process that The Daily Show does. The Daily Show records live, mixing's live, and they go right, quote, to tape, meaning what they recorded is pretty much just what goes on the air.
Right, okay.
So you can do the same thing with audio.
And you have one tailored to each of your voices, basically?
Exactly. So basically, each one of these tracks I can apply different effects to. And effects generally take effect live. So for example, if I click here, these are the effects applied to my voice. That top line is the actual volume of my voice, just as I'm talking, as it's recorded. If it turns red here, I got too loud and I clipped it. I wasn't able to clip it because I set it up so awesomely.
Please
but anyway.
don't try again.
And down here is the end result. See how it's louder and more uniform?
Mm-hmm.
The filters make that happen. So if someone's listening, like, yeah, check out that waveform there.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
It looks like vomit.
So the first thing I got going on here, you want to learn about noise gates. So what this is doing is it's a graph showing like as the volume increases by 1 decibel in the actual signal, how much will it increase in the output signal, like what's actually being recorded. So you see it's doing nothing up here, but down here it gets quieter faster as it gets quiet.
Mm-hmm.
That removes you in the background from my channel.
Okay.
So I won't pick up you in the background, like making extra noise or whatever. I won't pick up like all this extra stuff. It's getting rid of like, it also gets rid of like little weird noises that I make with my mouth when I lean back. Like that.
Those are the worst noises. Stop.
I like those noises. So the second filter that we got going on here, which takes place after that, that is called a compressor. So above 20 decibels, the louder I get. If I get 2 louder, the wave only gets 1 louder. So I'm basically cutting my volume down at half the rate from what it normally would get to.
Okay.
In general, compressors just even the sound out and make you sound awesome. When in doubt, compress more. Because while it'll sound maybe a little artificial and a little kind of radio-y, that's why radio sounds so consistent. You just compress the ever-living fuck out of it.
Okay.
And the other thing you need to use is mastering. This will just make shit easy. Just drag this stuff around and listen to like a recording of your voice and find the parts that are loud or weird or like there's probably one area of your voice that sounds annoying when you're listening to it, like you're listening to it in headphones. Find that part and get rid of it. Like here, I raise that part because that's the one good part of my voice right there. That little is good rim. And that is like bass at the top there.
Where's that whole missing singing range?
Well, I could. You want me to add auto-tune? I could auto-tune this episode right the fuck now.
And actually make yourself sing a tune?
Well, the thing is, it'll only get me close. It'll get me onto the nearest note. That might not work out so well.
Yeah, please don't try.
Yeah, in music theory class, I sang in falsetto because that's the only way I could hit notes.
You sang?
I had to sing my thesis.
Oh, your poor teacher.
Oh, I got to whistle after I was told by the teacher that I, in fact, am not one of the people who can sing. And by the people, he meant everyone can sing. I hummed it and I harmonica'd it. So, so we have these filters that are applied live. So normally if we have a guest on the show, I'll just make like an extra template. So I have this whole template already saved. So I queue it up. Look, it even says like Rim, Scott, bumpers, sound effects, microphone 3 for if you use one of the weird microphones.
Can my nickname be Bumpers next time?
You want to be on bumpers? Bumpers has no effects on it though. That's the trouble.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
I just like the word.
And we do more complicated stuff, but you can learn that later. The gist is record yourself talking and get the levels right to where you don't clip the microphone and the mixer themselves. Like you never clip here. And then you're going to have to do something that's going to feel really awful. You have to listen to your own voice on a loop, like a few sentences, and just listen to it on a loop for hours, fiddling with all these knobs.
I was afraid you were going to say something like that.
That is the only way to make a thing sound good.
Well, that's one way to desensitize yourself to how stupid you sound.
Yeah, you know what? Everyone sounds both stupid and awesome on the radio. You sound stupid because you're not used to hearing your own voice. And you sound awesome because actually most people sound awesome.
And most people, really?
Yeah, most people sound just great. If you record and do a little bit of processing, they sound awesome.
All right. Audition is magic.
Yeah, audition like friendship is magic. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, things of the day. Notice how what happened there is that we stopped recording and then we started again.
Yeah, for a split second.
Yeah. So we do this mostly now just because it's easier to edit, but in the old days, we would try to record the whole show in one go, and that's good, but if you're going to have a format where you switch between topics, it's good to have a pause there so you can like get your shit together. Like pull up the webpage that talks about the thing that you're going to talk about.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Except I didn't know I was going to be here, so I don't have a thing.
Exactly. But if you want to sound smart on a podcast, the best thing to do if you're talking about a thing, have the Wikipedia of that thing just up in front of you so you can say things like Scott will be like, it was in like 1993, 94, and you can be like, actually, it was in 1991.
I knew that's what you guys were doing.
That's how everyone does it. Everyone who's smart on the radio or a podcast just has Wikipedia in front of them. And if they're doing a video, they have a teleprompter.
Words from the wise.
Yeah. Of course, right now I'm just looking at Twitter.
Yeah, that's not Wikipedia.
It might as well be. Oh, they're looking at a phone now. The magic's broken. Show's derailing rapidly. It's over.
I don't get a computer like you do. All I saw on that phone just then was the word rapist. I don't know if I want to talk about whatever that is.
What? You guys,
That's the word I saw.
there's trouble going on in the studio here. So I recommend you find some songs that either don't have copyright encumbrance or get someone to write them for you or steal something that no one will ever recognize.
I think I'm more comfortable with the first two.
Yeah. We have permission for our opening song, and I will not tell you where the other songs came from. Luckily, I don't think anyone's ever actually figured it out. But anyway, things of the day. This is our bit. OC, do not steal.
Okay.
So, you know about our things of the day, right?
Yes.
Can you think of a thing? What's the most awesome thing you've seen in the last 24 hours?
Oh, Jesus. I don't know. The last
Anything.
24 hours. Oh,
Originally, it didn't have to be a link. It would just be like, yeah, totally saw a guy pass out on the train and miss his stop, and that was hilarious. Saw a baby bird being fed by its mom.
Went to the U.S. Open last night for the first time ever, despite the fact that I live in Flushing.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
That sounds
was cool.
awesome.
It
I
was
really like
awesome.
tennis.
Serena Williams just kind of ate her opponent.
Yeah, literally.
Hey.
I was making a vor joke, not a sex joke. Ew.
You happen to be talking to a gay thing over here, so I thought you were being derogatory.
No, I was not being derogatory. She is fucking amazing.
Yeah, she is.
I love tennis. I love tennis a lot.
I really like tennis.
While we have to segregate actual sexes because testosterone is literally just like hex mode in tennis.
It is. It so is.
I love the fact that women's tennis is just as awesome as men's tennis.
Just as beastly.
Yep.
There was no mercy.
I also love how there was a heat wave going on. Some of the matches I watched on the internet got pretty sad toward the end. And is it bad? Am I a bad person for the fact that I like watching tennis matches that start strong and get increasingly sad as people wear out into a long deuce?
Isn't that every long tennis match ever?
But by the end, like I forget who I was watching, but I saw this highlight clip where the serve was made, it was returned derpily, like burp, and the receiver of the return just stood there.
Yeah.
And it just went by. And he totally could have just, if he'd just like run a little bit, he could have gotten it.
That happened a few times last night. It was like really frustrating to watch.
I love watching that because he knew it too. Like I saw, like you see him turn and look at the ball, and then he's like,
yeah, he does a Daria where he just stands there, puts his hand out a little bit. No, we were watching Djokovic versus Murray, which is a really big match, and it was going on forever. They were constantly tying, and we eventually left because it was midnight, and we chalked it up to whoever feels old first will be losing tonight.
One of my coworkers was apparently also at that game, and they watched it to the end. And when asked if that was worth it, the answer was no, but I'm going to say yes to anyone else who asks me that.
Oh, the secret's out.
Yeah. I don't think he knows I do Geek Nights. So my thing of the day, if you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen this. We went to a secret restaurant in Seattle after PAX 2 years in a row, and apparently no one who goes to PAX knows about this place.
Is this where you took the pictures of the ice cream?
Yes.
Oh.
So the internet might be able to figure it out. Scott ate so much that he sounded like he was dying when he was laying in bed.
How much food can Scott fit in him?
Scott cannot eat as much food as the rest of us. And as Scott has said on Old Geek Nights, if he eats too much food, the food comes out in every direction and every path. He laid in bed and he was just all night. He was like,
I just have the worst image now of Scott bleeding ice cream from his eyeballs.
So,
what a terrible
Scott goes
Jew.
to the bathroom and he comes back and he's like, guys, that bathroom. And then I remembered that the previous year the bathroom had also been awesome. So I go in there and I made 2 vines of this. What's going on in the men's bathroom is there are 2 old analog TVs, or like one like old LCD and one like really old CRT. And they're playing a loop of footage of like fire hoses and waterfalls and kids playing in sprinklers and like geysers. And meanwhile, Ride of the Valkyries is just looping.
That is awesome.
Never again a shy bladder.
Is that before you make it to the urinal or the stall? Or
It's there on the TVs. Behind the urinals, there is a mirror in front of each urinal, so you are guaranteed to be able to see that TV.
So it's not like a test. Like as soon as you walk in, you have to run because all of a sudden it's been made that much worse.
See, there's a thing. I don't know if you probably haven't ever experienced this, but a lot of guys can't pee if there's another guy in the room that they are in any way intimidated by.
Can't say I've ever experienced.
Men experience this shy bladder thing. Like ask people on the internet, and like a lot of people will often just like clam up and they can't pee if someone's nearby.
We don't have the whole urinal thing.
Yeah, you know what? Urinals are amazing.
Yeah, they look pretty easy.
In fact, you know what is better than a urinal? Just a trough. In bars, we'll just have like a trough. It's just like this long tub. And
Ew.
yeah, you know what it means? There is never a line.
Yeah, I know. People like to make that joke about ladies all going to the bathroom together, but really...
It's just because the line is like 4 years long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that shit sucks. Maybe if we had gender-neutral bathrooms, we could fix that.
Yeah.
Why don't we just have the urinal bathroom and the non-urinal bathroom?
That would work.
And then the baby bathroom, in case anyone has a baby.
Yes, please.
Yep.
Can we have those?
I got to listen to a father and his like just starting to talk daughter doing their kids can't deal with the bathroom yet in the stall next to me while I was pooping at PAX, and they were really loud, and he was like being funny and like, okay, dude, but basically I got to experience this whole thing auditorially while I was sitting in the stall next to them, and it was just really weird and awkward because he's like, all right, now you get to flush it, and she's like, yay!
That's how you get a kid pumped.
And then you hear flush. No, only flush once, but dad, flush once. Otherwise, you'll fall in, and it'll suck you away. And she's like, really? He's like, really? And then she got stone silence. Like, you know that moment when a kid like is told something that you think is funny, but they're taking seriously?
Yes.
Like when a kid watches Beetlejuice for the first time and they don't realize it's a comedy.
That was me on an airplane at age 5. Terrified.
That was also me watching Beetlejuice and Project A-ko.
Apparently, I freaked out so hard that they had to subdue me. I was 5 years old and on my way to Vegas.
Wow, you started young.
Mm-hmm.
I just picture 5-year-old you with like a cigar and just a pile of poker chips.
Yeah, and this little stuffed animal of Roger Rabbit in the seat next to me, living it up.
You know, when I first saw Roger Rabbit, like I really liked it, but I also took it way seriously.
Yup. That part with the shoe.
Yep, that part with the shoe, which actually was just a straight up murder.
Forget that part, man.
Yeah. And at the end, when the crazy eyes come out, I about flipped a brick.
It's Doc Brown.
So in the meta moment, the book club book is A Canticle for Leibowitz. Scott read part of it because he was on a plane. I got to read it again because I forgot most of the allegory at this point. So thanks, Scott. I read 5 fucking novels the time it took you to get 2/3 of the way through Leibowitz.
You're just a better person.
Yeah. Also, you should read A Canticle for Leibowitz.
Why?
Do you know what it's about?
Nope.
It's arguably the first or the second modern apocalypse story.
Okay.
As in an apocalypse caused by technology, like, you know, post-apocalyptic, wool-style, silo, paranoia, all those things.
All right.
Those novels really didn't exist until nuclear Armageddon was a possibility.
So-
And this is probably the first one.
What year was this written in?
During the Cold War, like the early part of the Cold War.
And what makes it not suck?
It's not that it doesn't suck. I'm reserving my
Okay.
opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically roughly about a guy named Leibowitz, who's not in the book. He's long dead. And he was just like this engineer. And because after the world got destroyed by an apocalypse, his writings and like stuff about him sort of became legend, and he was sainted by like the church that sort of picked up the ashes of the post-apocalyptic world. So Saint Leibowitz and the holy artifacts, like here's his box of resistors. They don't know what resistors are anymore.
So this was a normal dude.
Yes, this is a normal dude
Okay.
who is now Saint Leibowitz. And it takes place after the apocalypse. And it's the first book like that. Other than maybe there's arguably one earlier book, but that's about zombies.
About zombies?
Yeah, zombies.
That's an apocalypse story?
Sort of like zombies and people dying and stuff.
Zombies in before.
Yeah, possibly. It's arguable. It's debatable.
Okay.
It's a pretty good book. You got to know a lot about Jews and a lot about Catholics, or it's really hard to understand what this is talking about.
Define a lot.
You would get most of the Jewish references,
Yes.
and I think as a result, you could parse the Catholicism like inside baseball.
Okay, yeah, it's the Catholicism I worry about.
In the same way that I'm not the most deep person when it comes to Jewish stuff, but I remember a lot of weird Catholic inside baseball, so I was able to parse the Jewish stuff by juxtaposing it with the Catholic stuff that was happening.
All right, then.
It's a pretty good.
Yeah,
book.
I don't want to be studying any more Catholicism. I already took an art history course.
We were at PAX. PAX is done. A bunch of videos from PAX are going to be coming up online as soon as I can get to it. For all of you who saw us at PAX, that was awesome. Stay tuned for next week when we'll return with our usual hosts. And I will see you kids in Singapore if you're at the FPL show. I doubt you will be. And then I will be at PAX Australia lecturing without Scott. It's going to be me talking for an hour about like losing, I guess. Or possibly about winning. Actually, I realized I've submitted a panel called Losing and a panel called Winning. So we'll see which one they pick.
I won't be there, though.
You're not going to be there? You don't want to come to Australia?
I do want to come to Australia. Can I?
Do you want to come to Australia to go to a gaming con and then basically fly right back?
Yes.
Well, you know what? You should try to get yourself to be a guest of PAX and then murder someone.
Oh, okay.
Take their plane ticket.
Uh-huh, go on.
I'm only going because I tricked my work into flying me out, and I can't afford that shit.
I'm doing my part by doing art for the Australian Pokemon League for PAX this year. So.
Yeah. I saw they put a call out for some stuff.
I already drew a Kangaskhan for them.
Judith is apparently the most devastating gym leader in recent history.
I am not the most devastating in recent history. I am just very good.
Yeah, so when are you gonna beat the Elite Four or whatever?
I will be on the Elite Four hopefully soon.
So you're gonna be the Elite Four. That means there's only one person better than you, and that's the 9-year-old Ash or whatever.
No, they had some pretty awesome people last time. One of them just kind of disappeared.
Really?
Mysteriously. He came back after it was all over.
I was going to say, you must have gone down Victory Road. Like, what happens to Ash after that?
No, our champion at PAX East last year was dressed as Lysander.
Wow.
Yeah, you know the guy.
I know the guy. I'm a little girl playing with my Pokemon. Hello, child. What would it mean to be immortal? I'm going to muse on this while talking to you and then give you my phone number because that's what 40-year-olds do.
Yeah, you had to beat him. He was wearing Kanye glasses.
I love how randomly, like, I'm walking around the game and then I'll just get a call from him like, hey, so about immortality, what does it mean to be alive?
By the way, the professor gave me your number. I hope you don't mind.
It's like,
Bye.
yes, I mind. Yes,
I'll be calling again.
Hey, little girl, you should come to my club in whatever city someday. We totally don't serve alcohol because it's a Pokemon game.
All the walls are red, and the floors are also red, and the chairs are red.
Oh, and my secret base is hidden in here, and all you have to do is talk to the obviously Team Flare person that's hanging out here.
They'll send a Zubat out to fight you.
Sometimes they also have that dog Pokemon.
Whichever one is in this game.
Yeah. Why? At least in the earliest Pokemons, Team Rocket would have like 3 Pokemon sometimes.
Yeah, but they're always shit.
Yeah, but at least there's 3 of them. It's not just like one Zubat. It's like, really, Team Flare? You guys are the worst.
If there ever can be a Zubat, there will be a Zubat.
There'll be like 8 Zubats.
Ugh.
A flock of Zubats.
But anyway, yeah, PAX Pokemon League will be at PAX East and PAX Australia. And I think they're working on PAX South. Anyone who plays should go challenge them.
Yeah, seriously, PAX Pokemon League, and Scott will back this up, is legit.
Super legit. It's the most fun anyone can have playing the game. Seriously.
You know what else is legit? Pokemon Rusty.
That is also legit.
So yeah, now's the part where we do the main show, but I usually kind of already did it. So do you have any questions about like what you should do podcasting that I can answer in audio form?
That you can answer in audio form?
Yeah, as opposed to like showing screens of things.
Do you mean like technical questions?
Anything. And what questions would you ask? This is your moment.
How do you get past the whole idea of every other podcaster talks about this stuff like anime or games or something like
Those
that?
podcasts all fucking suck.
Okay.
That's how I got past it. Actually, well, we originally got past it by there really aren't podcasts. Let's do one. Like the podcasts weren't much of a thing yet.
Wasn't that like 25 years ago or something?
Scott actually arguably did the first podcast.
The first podcast.
So podcasting was not yet a term.
Uh-huh.
We were at RIT. Scott was like, I should just record audio of me talking and put it online and kind of syndicate it. And he did it. There's an episode of Proto Geeknights
And then
from when
what?
Scott and I were in RIT. And then he was like, that was really hard. I'm never doing that again. And then podcasting became a word. And then we were
25 years later.
but seriously, nowadays, listen to have you listened to any podcasts?
Not very many.
Yeah, they're awful. I
Oh.
listen to Anime World Order, Fast Karate for the Gentleman, Pseudopod, and most other podcasts are either awful or stopped.
Okay.
I don't find most podcasts good, and I think that you could do better than the vast majority of podcasts on these topics.
So just bolstering yourself by telling yourself everyone else sucks?
Yeah, you know what? If you need to believe that, go listen to some podcasts.
Oh, I do that all the time. I can do that.
Yeah, just like find a podcast about the thing you're going to talk about and just listen to it. And
yeah, then you get angry enough to
Yeah.
want to do better.
fuel your show with rage. The other thing too is either differentiate yourself, like do something different, or get by solely on your personalities and banter such that it doesn't matter what you're talking about. That's the Fast Karate style.
That's something I can do too.
Yeah, just be funny. Get a shit going. Get a routine.
I'm super funny. I mean, you people have been listening to me, right?
Yeah, Judith is a laugh riot.
They've all turned it off by now. The last person just hit the X button. Screw this bitch.
Well, the self-deprecating joke we always use is whenever we talk about the listeners, we always say, well, the listener will agree. But I just stole that from NPR It's All Politics, but they stopped. So I guess, what was the joke from The Simpsons? If you're anyone other than NPR It's All Politics, you're stealing my joke.
Don't ask me Simpsons questions.
What?
I was denied Simpsons as a child.
You
Never
and
got
Emily
into it.
both.
I was forbidden from watching it.
It is amazing to me, and it should be amazing to all you young fucks out there, that when The Simpsons aired on TV, a lot of parents wouldn't let their kids watch it.
Yeah.
Like, that shit was controversial. Like, you were not allowed to wear a Bart Simpson shirt to school.
I watched some episodes of it now, and I'm thinking, what? I watched.
Cedar Point made me turn my Bart Simpson t-shirt inside out, or they would not let me in.
Was he a controversial character? Is that why?
Well, the shirt had the word hell on it in tiny print.
Oh, hell.
It was a shirt that was Bart Simpson with a speech bubble, and it said, I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you? I guess...
Who the HE double hockey sticks are you? That's all it said.
Also, Bart said bitchin' once
Oh, no.
in those early seasons.
Oh, no.
I think pretty much that show was controversial until South Park came out.
And then everything after that was just the flushing of a toilet.
Yeah, pretty much. Thing is, Simpsons was good for at least 11 seasons, and honestly, New Simpsons is pretty good again.
I never did get into it, though, but you can blame my parents for that.
You know what you should do? Just take season 5, just pirate it, and just watch it. It's really, really funny.
Yeah, pirating stuff is how you show your support for it, right?
I don't think The Simpsons need my support. I think The Simpsons is going to run for the rest of my life.
Probably.
And
There's a
hopefully Adventure
precedent.
Time will too.
I don't know. No, I don't want to say something like that.
I do. I want it to. I want Adventure Time to be like that comic in the newspaper where the characters just all aged in real time and it went on for fucking ever.
Yeah, but American TV
For better or for worse.
has
right?
this way of pile driving shows into the ground once they reach a certain age until they're just not the same.
Adventure Time has gotten way past the point where that usually happens and has only gotten better.
It's gotten much more mature.
Yes, it's changed and not gotten worse. Name another show that has changed for the better, or at least changed for the same level of quality, but being different.
Pleading the fifth at the moment.
Yeah, name any show. Any show.
I bet
any
I-
show on American TV that changed and the change was for the good.
I could probably come up with something
I can name
after
one.
this show is over.
I can name one.
What?
Oh, no, you have to say it out loud now.
No, I think I can come up with something when the pressure's not on, is what I'm saying.
I thought you were about to say something that would piss off Tumblr or whatever.
No, I love pissing off Tumblr.
Ah, that's a hobby.
They forgive me because I'm probably gay.
My one. See, in a way, cishet white males are more oppressed because we can't.
Don't even start.
Because if I say something racist and sexist, the internet jumps all down my throat. But then if I get reverse racism or white slaved, then suddenly.
Remember the iPhone I was going to throw at you? It's going to be a wheeling chair this time.
But there's my one example is South Park, because the first half of the first season was just little kids swearing, and then the show got good.
I liked the first episode.
I also like those episodes, but the show changed and got way better, in my opinion.
It got more political, but in a good way.
Yeah. I love how South Park really does a good job of taking the piss out of any argument, no matter how stupid it is. I am hard-pressed to name any American show that changed and got better.
No, that's a big challenge.
Seinfeld got incrementally better for a long time just as the craft got better, but that wasn't a change in the way the show was.
Yeah, especially...
It wasn't like we're going to go dark like Adventure Time did.
When you put the word American as a qualifier for that, then I can't come up with anything.
Ooh.
I'm trying.
Let's see, anime. Anime that changed for the better at any point? No, they all got worse. They all got destroyed. Sailor Moon, I guess, changed and got better in S, but that's just because they brought out the good Sailor Senshi and the show got fucked up.
What about Sailor Moon Crystal, Rem? Don't you like that? Don't you like that one?
You know, I promised Scott I wouldn't shit all over that show anymore on the show, because every time I complain about it, Scott's like, why are you even watching it? That show's awful.
I've watched more of it than you have now.
Yeah, you have. And you know what? I'm just going to rewatch all the old Sailor Moon again.
I'm doing both of those things. Maybe I'm a better fan.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. Tenchi Muyo just got worse. And then worse again.
Yeah.
And then somehow worse up to the third power. And in between, they brought out Tenchi Muyo GXP, which didn't even have the characters I liked, and somehow was also awful.
I gave up after worse again.
Worst again, yeah, it was Tenchi in Tokyo burned me the worst, I think.
That was the worst.
That was the one where, that was a time in my life where I was also kind of invested in Tenchi, like as a thing.
Same here.
Yeah, those were dark times.
I felt betrayed.
Yeah, it's like, wow, these are awesome characters, and this is an awesome show, and it's a little perverted, but in that funny way that like Ranma was a little perverted.
Awesome art.
Yep. The clothing. Like, very few shows in that era animated clothing like that. I think Oh My Goddess was the only other show.
That's a good example, yeah.
And then, you know what? Notice Tenchi in Tokyo? Everyone's wearing bicycle shorts because they just couldn't be asked to animate that shit anymore.
And the animation style has been chopped. Not the style, I'm sorry. The animation itself has been chopped to shit.
Yep.
I said style because a long time ago, I was still a high school student and I was complaining about the quality of the animation descending into the pits of hell for Tenchi in Tokyo. And this defensive guy was like, that's just a style change. If you can't handle that kind of thing, then you shouldn't be complaining about it.
I saw that same argument this morning about Sailor Moon Crystal. They were like, no, the transformation sequences are CG, so they have to look worse. I was like, wow, you're wrong on every point
Then
there.
why did they choose a medium that has to look worse then, if that's your argument?
Because it's a deconstruction is the latest argument people
No,
will
it's
make.
not.
Everything ever is now a deconstruction. So I think it was Mike or someone who said that deconstruction, the definition of that is, I swear I'm not watching porn.
Sailor Moon is just the construction. It's just the thing.
But it's like half finished. It's like they built one wall and they're like, fuck it. Good enough. Just slap some eyes on it and an agape mouth. I still can't come up with any anime that had made a change and got better.
No, you mentioned Ranma. I was a fan of a lot of Takahashi things, and yeah, that's a terrible example.
Yeah, those shows didn't get better. They just never changed. That was the opposite problem. By never changing, they eventually ran out of shit to do.
Yeah, they didn't get endings.
I think Adventure Time would have ended if they had not continued to mature it and keep changing like the entire timber of the show.
Yeah, it would have SpongeBobbed.
I'm hard pressed to agree with you because as far as I'm concerned, SpongeBob, the first sponging that ever bobbed. Like I watched an episode of that show and I could summarize it as yeah, and then credits.
There was some slightly more clever humor in those older ones. Maybe you and I have slightly different senses of humor. So.
Maybe.
I was an animation student. I did like the anvils falling and all that.
Yeah, but I got that from like Monty Python animation.
I don't think that's a fair comparison.
I think that is a fair comparison. No, it's not fair because Monty Python, when I was that age, was the funniest thing in the world. You know what? Watching it again today, it is still fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
The only reason I don't laugh at it is because I've seen everything they've ever done like 100 times over the course of my life.
Yeah, I have to usually wait about 5 years in between watching The Holy Grail.
I remember the first time I watched The Holy Grail. I remember laughing so hard that I missed like entire scenes.
Yes, it was the same for me. I was at Lisa's house on the couch as a high school student. She just put it on being like, this is going to be the funniest thing you've ever seen in your whole life.
Yep. For the longest time, I ignored it. My dad was like, you should watch this movie. And I was like, whatever, Dad. Whatever. And then, yeah. Like, I was laughing so hard it hurt.
It looks old, and it looks British, and it looks live action. How could that be funny?
Granted, I've realized a lot of kids today like don't even like I almost said New Kids on the Block, Kids in the Hall, or all like 90s stand-up comedians or anything.
Oh, you so old?
I am really old. I remember watching like a young Janine Garofalo and a young Stephen Wright doing comedy on TV.
I don't even know who those people are.
Wow.
Sorry.
Wow. Stephen Wright. Okay, I'm gonna do a Stephen
There.
Wright joke. This is probably his best joke.
Did I just lose a 7-year listener?
I hope that guy's listening. So, finally finished the dictionary. Turns out the zebra did it. That's Stephen Wright. What was his other joke? One time I was walking through, and he ended a night with this one time. So I walked out into an alley, and I look up, and I see 2 kittens. And the kittens jumped out a window, did a triple backflip, and landed on a box. And I looked at him, and I said, wow, that just happened.
I'm lost. Sorry.
All of this is just we would talk like
That's
that.
it?
Completely
That's
deadpan.
it?
That might not even be the joke, but it doesn't matter. He would just say things like this. And that's the joke.
That works.
That's the joke.
That dictionary zebra thing almost sounded like a dad joke.
You mean an uncle joke?
Either one. Yeah, uncle joke is better.
I prefer uncle joke mostly because of the Teen Titans Go cachet. I have another listener who just gets, every time I mention Teen Titans Go, like he flips his shit about how bad and disrespectful that show is.
It was better than the first one.
Yeah, you know what? Everything is better than the first Teen Titans. That was such like Animu wannabe crap. Like it had sweat drops. They were like, what are the kids into these days? I don't know. Anime? What's anime? So take our show, draw it worse, add sweat drops, and we're good to go.
And everybody's head randomly gets giant at a silly scene.
Yeah, it's called chibification. I
Or
learned that
something.
from the internet. So you need to animate that shit.
Yeah, there was certainly an air of desperation to the Teen Titans art style at the very least.
The worst thing was it would alternate between super bad comedy and super bad like ultra serial drama.
Yeah, like they were
my
trying
God,
to go.
Starfire's drama with like Beast Boy and everybody and Raven and they all love each other and Terra betrayed them and oh my gosh.
Yeah, it almost seemed like they were trying to go dark like Batman the Animated Series ish.
But then they would go chibi with sweat drops like the next scene.
No, I tried. I couldn't take it seriously.
I couldn't even watch it. Like, it was painful to watch.
I can take Teen Titans Go seriously.
Teen Titans Go has the bonus point that Raven has killed a lot of people. And that is the primary reason I like that show.
I think she's my favorite.
She is definitely my favorite, but Beast Boy is my second favorite.
Beast Boy?
Yeah, because Beast Boy is actually kind of adorable.
He actually has like the cutest voice. I don't know who does his voice, but I haven't heard it anywhere else, I don't think.
He's also animated really funny. Like there's one episode where they're stuck in the elevator and he really has to pee. The way they animate him having to pee is one of the funnier things I've seen in my life.
Doesn't he turn into animals? Couldn't he just turn into a dog and piss in a corner?
Well, so he just does piss in the corner, but he doesn't turn into anything. I thought, why didn't he turn into like
a bird?
Yeah, and then do what birds do.
Just shit on everything.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
I don't think it works that way. I
What?
think if he has to pee, like the pee would come with him. I don't know. Because he doesn't transform, he just pees.
If he turned into a littler bird, would the pee amount stay the same?
Yeah, that's the kind of question that keeps me up at night.
And now I know.
All right, I think you can do a podcast just fine. So
Oh, thank you.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
That's it! I can't hold it another second! I'm just gonna go! I'm going!
Not here! Not here!
Here and now, bro!
Don't do it!
It's happening! Oh yeah, there it goes!
Come on, hold it in!
Too late, bro!